Great. Welcome, everyone. Today's webinar is a really exciting one for us. It's our debut of our NetBrain 12.1 version. And we titled today's webinar called How AI and Automation Really Kind of Help Us Prevent Outages and Deliver Continuous Observability. I'm really excited to be joined by two of my colleagues today, David Mann, who's our VP of Global Services, and Raj Jain, who's our Automation Experience Manager. So these two will be my partner in crime for the next 50 minutes or so. And hopefully we can get everyone here excited about 12.1 as we are. So just a very quick agenda is we want to talk about first is what type of problem did we actually want to solve with this new version? And then we're going to dive into three particular aspects. First is we're really excited to unveil our vision for how automation and AI can help our customers and our prospects today. Second is we want to introduce a bold concept called post-mortem assessment, right? We're all familiar with post-mortems, but can we turn that into automation and potentially prevent existing outages from coming back, right? So that's the goal that we have in the second portion. And in the third portion, we're going to be talking a little bit about reverse engineering and what we call rule discovery, is how we can potentially automate the creation of lots of automations and intents to power the rest of the platform's intelligence. So finally, we're going to have some questions at the end. And without further ado, let's get into it. So first, let's think about what problems did we want to solve with our next-gen 12.1 version. So we really thought about three things. One is we wanted our platform to help every engineer solve problems quickly in minutes, right? A pretty audacious goal for ourselves. Number two is we want to be able to use the platform automation to help customers and teams prevent past problems from coming back and hurting us again, right? That's number two. Number three is we want to ask ourselves is, can we further automate the creation of millions of intents that's relevant to a particular network to really be able to create that wealth of intelligence within the platforms to be used to solve problems and for preventive automation. So today in the webinar, we want to try to answer these three questions. First is, how do we use automation agentic AI to solve problems in minutes? So using automation and AI to solve problems. Second is, we're going to show you how we can automate post-mortem assessment to prevent past problems from coming back and hurting us again. And then third is we're going to debut a new way and a big upgrade of our powerful discovery engine to now discover not only the devices, topology, and the path of your network, but now we want to be able to discover your network's unique intents and protect them, right? So we're very excited. Firstly, to create 12.1 to solve these particular three problems, we had to rethink the two major aspects of our automation AI platform. The first is, how do we build the intelligence within the platform itself? And for those of you that are familiar with NetBrain, you know that a lot of our automation unit is fundamentally created within network intents. And every network is built up of millions and millions of intents, right? So security zones, routing zones, connectivity, performance, all of these things, the network is built to accomplish certain intents for the IT environment. So what we want to be able to do is rethink how we can build intelligence from three fundamental sources. Number one is any network's unique designs. We often hear from our customers that every network is different, and we totally agree. But those are the specific things that needs to be protected and built into the platform. So we thought about how do we build intelligence from your unique designs. Number two is, how do we build intelligence from your past problems? So if something has happened once, how do we learn from exactly the state of the network that's caused that problem so that we can build into the intelligence that we can prevent it from happening again? Last but not least is from the industry's past problems. Lots of best practices, compliance rules, different things exist in the environment because of all the industry's past problems that turned into a truth. So we want to be able to share that and build that intelligence to your specific AI platform, automation AI platform in NetBrain, to be able to leverage all of this. For the second portion of it is how we can actually apply it. So in 12.1, we really are excited to unveil 3 fundamental new features. One is a rule discovery engine to help you discover the unique designs of any network and build that intelligence. Number 2 is golden assessment, is how we can very quickly be able to turn your past ticket knowledge and learnings into an intent and intelligence. And lastly is the concept of a library that now we've collected from other customers, the industry, best practices, other folks' past problems, and build that into intelligence for you. So once we have all of this, we want to now apply it into 2 particular places. So we thought about how do we apply it to new tickets? How do we resolve them faster? But number 2 is how do we apply it network-wide to identify similar issues so that we can prevent past problems from happening again. So again, 3 key innovations here that we really want to unveil today. Number 1 is how we can further use agentic AI and power it with automation to help solve new tickets. Number 2 is we really want to now power our trigger automation framework with AI and make it even more powerful than what we had before. And last but not least is we now introduce intent-powered runbooks. And Runbooks is something that's been loved by our customers. We now want to augment it with the power of intents. So without further ado, let's get first into how do we actually use 12.1 to apply intelligence. In 2016, we came out with the concept of Runbooks. Now, a lot of our customers are fully adopting, and there's wide adoption of these Runbooks. And it was a way for our customers to turn their workflows, their tasks, their flows into automation in an easy to understand way. And back in 2016, we were able to take simple things, simple tasks that network engineers do on a common basis, CLI commands, ping, trace, overall health, so on and so forth, and build that into a step-by-step runbook that can automate their workflows. Now, with 12.1, we've now empowered it with the power of intents. So intents are so much more than just the data collection, but also the analysis and diagnosis of problems. So now you can actually embed into the runbooks the power of intent so that you can further get to the root cause much faster versus just being able to collect data. And now we took a step further, is we asked ourselves, how do we even make this simpler? Can we leverage the advance and the progress that the industry has made in agentic AI and power agentic AI to use automation? So now we can enable our users to be able to use natural language to be able to interact with the power of the intents and the automations that NetBrain has within. So to think about that, we have traditionally lots and lots of NetBrain automation. Now, this can be accessed by runbooks, by auto intents, by various different ways on the map, and so on and so forth. So we thought to ourselves is how do we use AI to be able to enable all of this? So we think of the AI as the interface between our users and the automation itself. So if the users are now able to use natural language to ask AI to help it accomplish certain tasks, AI understands all the automation that's available to them, orchestrates the right automation, takes the results of the automation, and then generate those answers and summarize them back in natural language to the user. So this further makes the hundreds and thousands of automation intents that NetBrain has within it much more accessible to the user for the task that they have. Now, we can use AI to be the interface for the human user. We can also use this to tremendously upgrade our trigger automation framework for external systems. So if an external system, like an ITSM, they can event trigger, so a new ticket is created, as the AI is saying, hey, NetBrain, help me troubleshoot this ticket someone just created in the ITSM ticket. NetBrain can do the similar, orchestrate the automation, find the relevant automation, return and interpret the results, and then respond to it and embed itself into the ticket. So using agentic AI is a fundamental change in how we think about how, as an interface to the automation of what within our system provided to the human user and external systems. So with that said, really, truly, probably the most powerful thing is to show in the product. So I want to turn it over to Raj and to demonstrate how 12.1 has been able to upgrade our automation in AI. Raj, over to you.
Thank you, Song. That's a bold statement that we want to help all and each and every engineer in the company to be able to solve problems in minutes. And the way we do that is through runbooks. So our customers today are using these runbooks to run change processes, to run troubleshooting processes, to run assessments. And I think one simple example that I want to show today is a troubleshooting a slow application. So I'm going to go ahead and create this runbook. And the first thing you'll notice is that pop-up. So now you can input elements inside of the runbook. So now I can input my source and destination. Since this is a troubleshooting application, my runbook now knows that everything I do is going to be between the source and the destination. So the first thing we do here is create a live path between the 2 points. As you can see, if you're familiar with NetBrain, if you're our customers, you know this is not a trace route. We go from point A to point B. We get into each and every one of these devices on the way. NetBrain has a checklist of things it's looking for. So looking at the routing tables, the NATings, the ACLs, the VRFs, any policies, security groups, all of that across multiple vendors, across multiple technologies, and we're able to go create that path for you between the 2 points. So we'll just give it a couple seconds and this will be done. And there we go. So now that the visualization is out of the way, we know for a fact that one of these devices could be the problematic device for this issue. Next, we can now embed intent inside of runbooks. And this is what makes these runbooks incredibly powerful. The intent that we have here is, of course, it's called path troubleshooting. What it does for you is that it's going to go in there, log into each and every one of these devices, and run multiple intents to find out any possible issues. And just in a few seconds, I'll walk you through what's happening in the back. There we go. So looks like it got me 4 alerts. I'm going to take you in the back really quick and show you what the intent was doing. Here we go. So what did it do? It performed a series of checks for you. We were looking at routing problems. We're looking at any ACL problems, any delays, any performance issues due to CPU memory spike. We've got a couple of problems that we did find. And this is incredible. We can go from, I don't know what the problem is, to, hey, it looks like one of these devices has some QoS packets being dropped. Right? That's how quickly now you can troubleshoot your network with the help of these intents. And not just that, we did find some drops on one of these devices. On further analysis, we also see that we also have a QoS configuration issue on one of these devices. Now, all of this has been happening inside of that intent. And we'll come back and talk more about how powerful these intents are. But next step for me is to see whether or not there's any changes that happen in my network. Because oftentimes it's due to a bad change that we come across these situations. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing a golden config rule assessment for QoS across all these devices. And what it basically does is compares my QoS config with the gold standards. It did find something red. I'm going to click into that. And just in a matter of seconds, you're looking at exactly what the problem is. So it looks like my policy is different indeed, and there is a typo due to which the rate has not been correctly set. Now, all of this, like I said, did happen pretty quick. But what do we do from here? Well, we did find what the problem is. I'm going to go and see if I can resolve this problem from within the runbook. And if you are upgraded to the latest version of NetBrain today, you do have this feature of auto remediation. If not, I would highly recommend get this, because now from the runbook itself, you can remediate to the correct config. And what we basically did here is we did a golden comparison, and we found that, hey, it looks like in the golden comparison, your policy was a bit different. So do you want to roll back to the golden config? And this is how, if I click yes, it's going to take me through the change process, and with proper approvals, I'd be able to go push that change. So now that we know what the problem is, we're able to map it out. We pinpointed the root cause. We did golden assessment. We also did remediation. It's time to document everything, which is probably the most time-consuming part here, because going and creating that document, getting everything right, is a bit of a work. But for NetBrain, this is now a 2-minute job. So let me see if I can pull up a document that I've already done. There you go, just a few minutes ago. And it has all of this data for me. So it knows that, hey, it looks like this is the map, all the greens and reds of the checks that we perform. And most importantly, it knows that the reds is clearly telling me that the class map policy did not match the golden. And all of this is just in a couple minutes. So going back, my document is ready. And now you can also, of course, customize these documents. So you get to pick and choose what elements you need in that document. And you can, of course, go in there and edit this according to what you need, including the front page logo. We also have AI documents. So it's as simple as going in there and saying that I need this summarized for my boss, right? You click OK, and then this long document is going to convert into a shorter one. And this is just a very quick use of what AI can do to make our lives simple. With that being said, my Runbook demonstration right here ends, but you can now see that just in 4 steps, we went on creating the problem to documenting everything. But there's another interesting thing that Song mentioned, is to use AI to further shift this left and further depend more on technology and less on the human efforts that we put in. So now with AI, what I can do is I can type in a prompt, natural language, and it's able to go orchestrate this for me and then go through these thousands of these intents in the back and pick and choose the right intent for me to troubleshoot this problem. And you can see some prompts right here. I'm going to use the one that says troubleshooting voice issues. Now, the question that people ask me is that how specific do you want to be in these prompts? And my answer is that I want every engineer to be in the organization to be able to use technology to troubleshoot issues. So if the only thing that I understand from this map is that, hey, looks like there's a voice issue, that's all I have to tell AI. Now it's the AI's job to go in the back, ask NetBrain and say, hey, looks like voice problem. Do you have anything to do with voice? And that's how it's able to go pull these hundreds of these intents from the back and run the right ones for me and help me find the root cause. And as you can see some greens and reds. The red will very well tell me that, hey, looks like there is indeed a QoS problem. And it did point out the right problem for me. Okay, this is how interesting this is, and this is how powerful the AI use here is.
Yeah. So Raj, this looks like, just if I can quickly jump in, is it looks like it's trying to find first is all the different automations and intents that it has access to, finding some relevant ones, right? Running them, summarizing, what's been found, and then giving you kind of almost that direct access to the automation, right, in the back end.
Absolutely, Song. And that's what makes this very interactive, because as an end user, I may or may not know exactly what I have in the back. As someone who just consumes information, this becomes my interface, my go-to place where I can interact with NetBrain through the AI. And while it's doing this, and it's going to summarize a lot of things for me, it did. So it did find some QoS packet drops, key findings. It also did find some extra information for me, just in case. Looks like there's a couple services disabled. It found QoS drops. It found a bunch of other things. So it basically wants me to go find out what this problem could be. It's incredible. Now, what else can I do with this AI? And remember what Song mentioned, that we just don't want to use this inside of NetBrain. We also want to make your processes simple and your the interaction in your ecosystem better. So now you can use these prompts anywhere in any other tools as well. just for an example, I'm taking my incident management system. My user comes in and creates something really vague, says that, hey, we are having problems with voice. And now NetBrain is able to go identify that prompt. And not just that, but then it's able to go repeat and run the same steps that it was doing for me right there. And when I open this incident up in NetBrain, you'll see that we've not just done that diagnosis, but we've also created the same path that we're referring to. So it creates a path for me, and then it runs a series of checks, and it's able to go tell me that, hey, it looks like, yes, indeed, there has been a QoS problem. With that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Song for some more interesting insight.
This is great, Raj. If you can just keep on the screen just very quickly. I just want to, maybe bring in David a little bit here is, David, you talk to our customers a lot. You have plenty of experience, decades of experience managing networks. If you look at automation and AI, how do you think about, where our customers can immediately use this today?
Yeah, I think the possibilities are endless with this. We just saw an example of how you can quickly diagnose if there's a network problem, but I think you can also flip that on its head and do just the opposite. You can quickly diagnose if there's not a network problem. We talk about, we've all been engineers, and often what happens when there's an issue, everybody wants to blame the network as to what the problem is. So we're trying to quickly figure out what's our mean time to innocence to prove whether or not there really is a network issue. And with this, actually, you can take that mean time to innocence down to 0. Because if you push out the power of the platform to every engineer within the organization, just imagine even your help desk staff being able to ask the question, is there a network problem here? Is there a voice problem? And then NetBrain on the back end running the automations to be able to determine if there is or is not. Then before you even join a P1 call, they've already realized that it's not a network issue. So this is just fascinating, the kind of power that it puts in the hands of the IT staff, whether they're in the network or not. And the other thing too is that it increases your first call resolutions. That ultimately increases how satisfied your users are, because you're empowering others to be able to determine real network issues or if there's not a network issue. And then, when they're on that first call, then they're able to make that determination using natural language, the way that we talk as humans.
Absolutely. So further, like what Raj has mentioned, shift left is how do we enable more users to leverage the power of automation to really get their jobs done, right? And I think this is what we're super excited about is with this particular version is having agentic AI embedded and powered by intent that we can actually get there. So this is great. Thank you. And let me jump back into to my screen. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, David. Now, when we kind of look back into now this next section of our discussion is we talked just now about basically how automation and AI can be applied to new ticket resolution using agentic AI, AI-powered TAF, trigger automation, and intent-powered runbooks. Next, we want to look at is how do we potentially build intelligence from your past tickets, right? And then turn it back into using golden assessment, do it quickly, and apply it to problem prevention. So the way we thought about this when we designed this particular feature is we wanted to accomplish something like this. First is, after every single outage problem, or it could be a design rule, it could be something that you've implemented in the network. Every single time you learn something new about your network in terms of what must be true, right? So if this was true, then this intent is satisfied. If this is true, then this design is working. Because this wasn't true, therefore, I had an issue, right? So after every single problem, we all are learning more about what must be true of the network. So now if we can capture that desired state into a network intent, then what we can do is take that one example of that problem, happened on R1, this is the issue. We can take that learning, now replicate it across the entire network to all the other devices that's pertinent to answer the simple question, which is, where else in the network do I have this problematic state? Or where else in the network is this not true? So if you can do that, we can start to identify day one issues and rectify them before it really impacts the network, right? Now, if we take this one further step, is not just doing it once, but continuously. Can we do this every day? So every day, we take everything that we learned in the past, apply to the rest of my network, so that we can continuously assess for these problematic states and alert if it's found. So really preventing the reoccurrence of a past problem. The last big goal we gave ourselves is do this, except do this in minutes. Doing it in a way that every network engineer solving a big problem, that hero can now even find additional problems in the network to prevent a like issue from happening in the future in minutes, right? So this is the big hairy audacious goal that we gave ourselves. And I'm going to pass it over to Raj and to show us how this could be potentially done in 12.1. Raj, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Song. One of the things that I've personally noticed is NetBrain customers, the way they document things is by saving them in maps, which is very intelligent to do. Because now that we have a issue, we also have the associated troubleshooting that you've done with that issue. I'm going to open one of these maps. This looks like a problem that happened in January. It does look like a voice problem, and the root cause was a misconfigured QoS policy. Great. And the engineer was able to point out what the problem is by running an intent that was able to tell us that, hey, it looks like the CRR is less than the standard value. Now, this is the troubleshooting that engineer did at the time of the event. Now, like what Song mentioned, that we want to take this and replicate this in my entire network, assess my network, and then find out if there are similar problems. So we're not just solving the problem once, but then we're solving the problem for the future as well. So preventing problems with that. How do we do it? We do it using our assessment technology. So I'm going to switch over to my Golden Engineering Studio, and you'll see there's lots of rules right here. So we don't want to go into that in a lot of details. We'll probably come back and take a look under these rules. What I want to do right now is just focus on post-mortem. And then as you can clearly see, there has been a few post-mortems that I've done already. Now, what we want to do is create a new rule. And then for this demo, we'll build a post-mortem with you. So let me call this voice issue, something really simple. And inside of this, I'm going to go and replicate that intent that engineer created to my entire network. That intent was created on that map, so I'm just going to go look for that intent really quick. There we go. January 12th, voice issue. And all I need to do is, first, let me just change my name right here. CR value less than, there we go. And generate. What this does for me right now is take that intent, go through each and every one of my devices. Now, a lot of these devices would not even have QoS configured in them. They're not worked on. A lot of these devices would not have the class voice, right? And then, but if those criteria is met, and if we found devices, we're going to go in there and then find out if their CIR value is less than the standard. And since we have already done this before, I'm just going to go quickly switch to that particular post-mortem that we have done. And as you can see, across 121 devices, we came across 50 devices that has that particular QoS config and 2 alerts. And just for the sake of showing this to you visually, I can quickly scroll down and be able to point out where that alert is. But a simpler way is always use a dashboard. So NetBrain not just replicates this problem for me, but also gives me a easy to use dashboard. So with a single click of a button, you're going to look at a dashboard. I have 50 devices. You may have 5,000. So it's always nice to come in here and see that, hey, if we're running that intent 5,000 times on these devices, and we found X amount of alerts. And if you've used NetBrain dashboards, they're very interactive. So you can click on that. You can really dive deep and get to know exactly what that diagnosis was. And you'd be able to see that, hey, indeed, this is less than the standard value. Now, what we've just done is a post-mortem. Let me see if I was able to go find more alerts in the one that I created with you guys. There we go. So I'll quickly refresh this. And yes, indeed, we found 2 alerts across 51 devices right here. So we just went from finding a problem to replicating that across my entire network and then finding other problems in the network, and hence running a successful post-mortem. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Song and David.
Right. And Raj, I think we can probably keep it just here just a little bit as well. Is bring back kind of David, who's our kind of a customer expert at this point. How do you think about our customers being able to use this and the value that they can attain?
It reminds me of when I was running enterprise networks, and probably some of my former team is on the call. Even they're probably chuckling when they hear this, because I would say it a million times after we had an issue. If we had an issue, it should only happen once. Go back and look, do we have this condition anywhere else in our environment? And we need to know about it, because if it happened once, okay. But let's not have it happen again. And when we go through the RCA process, and just imagine your problem management teams, at our customers, having the capability of knowing that our network teams are doing this and adding this data to our problem records, ensuring that, we're wiping these problems out everywhere else. So this post-mortem assessment is powerful. I know that doing this, even though we've had the ability to do something similar to this in the past, but now it's just so much easier with the Golden Assessment and the Golden Engineering Studio to be able to replicate this across the environment. I just think it's going to be fantastic for our customers.
I love that comment. It can only happen once, right? And it happens once, and what can we learn from it? And we can look into the rest of our network for it, right? So that's a great story, and hopefully, those of whom that has worked with you in the past, they're watching it today, and then they can chuckle to themselves, and hopefully can hear your voice in their dreams probably too. So let me jump back.
Or nightmares.
Or nightmares. That's right. That's right. Awesome. So that was very powerful. The last section, the last chapter of our webinar today, we really want to look into is how we can potentially take any unique network design. Now, I think a lot of our customers say this, and I think for those of us that worked in networks for a long time, is we know there's so many commonalities in networks, but every single network is a snowflake, right? Every network is built off of their own intents, own rules, own configurations for the purposes that the businesses necessitate, right? And this all creates many, many types of unique designs. And we really want to focus in on and talk about how we can use rule discovery, which is a 12.1 capability, to take those unique designs and build intelligence out of them. So that's number one. Number two is we really want to introduce a golden assessment library where we could take industries and other customers' past problems and use that as a way to build intelligence and fundamentally apply it forward to any network to find potential issues that exist, right? So when we looked into it and thought about it, is going back to a little bit of the story of the intents, right? We often think about our network as many, many devices. So thousands of devices, tens of thousands of devices. Each of these devices carry lots and lots of different intents within it. And these intents manifest itself in terms of features, right? So we create or configure features on our devices to accomplish certain intents. And these features are applied through not just one device, typically, many, many devices. But every device carries almost like a strand of the network's DNA within itself, right? Replicated. So any network that you see one device having BGP, there's probably other devices with BGP. QoS, right? Multicast, redundancy, HSRP, VRRP, right? And so on and so forth. Those things are, for us, is clues in which we can do two things. If we can figure out from any network the features that it has deployed, we can start to discover the unique rules that live within it, right? So it may be ACL 192 is controlling the QoS policy for VoIP traffic, right? It could be, this particular security filter, right? It could be all kinds of different unique rules within the network. So that's the first part, is we can use these features as a way to discover the unique rules that exist within every unique customer. Second is, using these features, we also know the states of those said designs, right? And if we can use as a way to be able to decode all the states of the network, baseline them, we can start to identify deviations from what normal is. So this is really what we seek to do now for the last couple of years. And now we made a big leap ahead in terms of our innovation in automating, building lots and lots of these type of intents. So what do we mean by that? So let's dive in a little bit into detail. So first of all, rule discovery. How we think about it is, if we can apply a rule discovery engine on a network and fundamentally answer three questions. Number one is, what unique rules exist in your network? So in this case, it could be, I have interfaces that are configured with QoS that uses a class map database or signal, and they're using ACL 195, right? So these are the unique rules that's impossible to pre-build, but can only be discovered in your network. The second thing is, we answer the question of how many number of devices contain this particular rule, right? So you have 38 devices that have class map DB using ACL 195. You have 6 devices using ACL 150, 43 signal using ACL 190, right? So now we start to identify all those devices in your network that has this said rule configured. Lastly, probably most importantly, is we start to identify inconsistencies. So of the 43 devices that have ACL 190 applied to class map signal, applied to an interface on the QoS, we found 37 devices that have the same configuration, but 6 that have a different one. Now, that could be on purpose. That could be a remnant of past designs, past evolutions of the network that has now drifted from where your intention should be, right? So now with the rule discovery, we can discover unique rules, figure out the number of devices, and start to discover inconsistencies. Then what we can really do is start to identify day one issues, identify drifts that have occurred over decades of your network history, hundreds of people that have managed it, operated it, changed it. And then finally is be able to now take this now truly, you can imagine tens of thousands of intents, designs, build them into automation. And like what we just showed previously, is build them into a dashboard, and that we can schedule it and assess it every day, every week, to make sure that those intents and what's golden stays golden, to prevent outages caused by these drifts, right? So hopefully for the last time, pass it back over to Raj that can really show this in our product of how this works. Raj, over to you.
Thank you, Song. Thanks. This is an incredible piece of part of our presentation today, is to understand what are the rules that govern your network. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of rules that you're looking at. Now, here's the thing. I'm not seeing any one single engineer know everything about everything in the network. And this is where you really need automation. Now, I'm going to walk you through something that Song already explained, just to kind of show you things live. This is the opposite of post-mortem, because in post-mortem, we're looking at one rule and we're trying to find that in every device. This, we're reverse engineering every single device config to identify what are the rules that governs these devices, and also have a golden config set so that we can do a comparison. That's incredible, very powerful. Now here, like Song mentioned, we did find some devices that have BGP and that have that certain access list, and there are 2 devices, right? Both of them look good. We can scroll down, we can find other issues as well. Like for instance, there's 43 devices that are using a certain ICL for class map general. And then 5 of these have config violations, right? So we not just found that rule, we also found what the golden is supposed to be, and then run a quick comparison and give you a list of devices that do not follow that golden standard. And this is very helpful. And what we do is once you have identified them, we can install the rules. So if I select add, what it's going to do is it's going to install these rules into my NetBrain assessment rules. And then from there, you're able to easily go search for a certain rule. Like for instance, if I look at the same rule right here, I can quickly select that, and it tells me that, hey, these are the assessment rules, 42 compliant devices, 14 alerts, and I can quickly open that up, and it's going to take us back to that Golden Engineering Studio where we have all these rules located. Now, if I'm looking at this for the first time, the first thing that comes to my mind is, wow, there is so many different rules. This is just a bit too complex. But even more complex is to manually trying to identify and make sense of all these rules and then finding a needle in a haystack for that matter. So here, very simply, I can just select any one of these. We just don't have their config, we also have their state. So yes, we are looking at anything that differs, but you can switch over to intent, and then you're also able to go create alerts from here. And not just that, I can take this one step further and say, hey, some of these rules are very important to run my organization. So what I'm going to do is schedule them, probably to run every day or maybe every week. And based on that, it can send me alerts whenever there's a violation. And the way you look at everything on a single pane of glass is by creating a dashboard. So I'm just going to switch over to a new observability dashboard. And this is going to be right in front of you. So I'm just creating a fresh dashboard, nothing pre-baked here. This is how simple it is. So existing NetBrain users, if you're not using these dashboards, are very powerful. All you have to do is select the rules that you would want to have in this dashboard. And maybe I'm just selecting, just for the sake of demonstration here, I'm going to select all my actual rules. I'm going to select OK and apply. And look at that. Just in a few seconds, we have all these rules. And this is just my lab, and I've got less than 100 devices here. We're just running this over 59 devices. But imagine if this is 5,000 or even 50,000 for that matter, you're looking at probably millions of intents that's running across your entire organization. And then you're able to go find out that, hey, looks like this is the problem. Right? And these dashboards are incredible. They're very easy to use. I can select them. It tells me exactly what the problem is. It's going to take me there. And you can always, of course, add more details to it. So if you wanted to add a geolocation map, if you want to see the top 10 devices having a problem, all of that is going to be available to you just with a few simple clicks. And with that, we're not just finding a problem one time or a few problems, but then we're also preventing problems. And this is how you truly prevent outages, by having dashboards like these. With that, Song and David, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I really want to hear kind of David's input, because David's managed enterprise networks before. He knows kind of how the networks evolves and how complex it is, right? So when you see that big list of rules, I mean, that's real, right? So David, how do you think about this?
Yeah, and I have the life scars to prove it that I've been managing enterprise networks for quite a long time. But in all honesty, it's like sometimes enterprise networks go through these different life cycles. Sometimes they're managed regionally. You've got, different leaders in different regions of the world that are responsible for segments. And then you go through a period of time of maybe you transition to a global management style and back and forth. Who knows, where our customers are in that life cycle right now. But just over time, what happens? Well, there's the accumulation of multiple standards that are out there. There's also multiple vendors that are working, multiple MSPs that are in your environment, multiple implementers. And so just with all of that going on and the complexity that exists in networks today, having this ability to be able to analyze and assess the environment, to reverse engineer it, and to learn what's happening is something that we really need in enterprise networking. And so to be able to build those standards so that what's happening, then you got to think too that you have to have a way to document your exceptions as well, because you've got your standards, but then there's those places in the network in which, well, in this corner over here, we have to have this exception because there's a special requirement. Okay, so be it. That happens at times. But at least with this, we're able to look for it. We're able to scan for it and make sure that that exception is in place. So this is another one of these features that I think that network engineers and network managers, those that are operating environments, are going to learn that they've always needed this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think as you're talking, David, I think it just reminds me is oftentimes we think about golden configuration audits, right? Is check our networks for golden configurations. And oftentimes is the biggest challenge is what is golden, right? And networks evolve so quickly. You have new initiatives, new projects, things change, right? And you have new problems, things change. This brings that data-driven approach to saying, hey, look, these are the different rules that are there. And it provides that help, right, for our customers to really figure out what is golden so they can protect it, right? So it's protecting the golden, but it's really trying to figure out what is golden, right, from that perspective as well. Awesome. Very cool. So it's a great discussion. And, I wish we had a little bit more time, but really there's so much more to 12.1, right? So we talked about golden assessment. We talked about next-gen runbooks powered by intent. We talked about AI insight. We talked about trigger automation powered by agentic AI. We really also, for the first time now, support Kubernetes in terms of discovery, container technology, nodes, topology, data tables. This is probably the first foray of many that we will continue to invest. And, our goal is really to provide that really true end-to-end visibility for any network teams. And now most of the networks and the workload we understand is heading to the container. So we're really, really excited by this. So first of all, I want to thank Raj and David in joining me today, and really kind of driving for our customers is really four things. One is, if you're an existing customer, upgrade today, right? Go to our website. We'll be sending an email after with details on exactly how to request an upgrade, but it's now GA, general available, and we're really excited for you to kind of experience the excitement that we have really in your environment. Number two is we will be launching a set of live automation experience labs. Now, we know a lot of our customers and our prospects don't have the benefit of being able to get hands-on with the new technology. So what we said to ourselves, and led by kind of Raj's team, the automation experience team, is to provide a set of experience labs in which you can experience, first and foremost, in our product, led by an expert, do it with us, and to experience all the power that we just demonstrated. If you like, we can also provide a capability for you to even import some of your data, right, your configuration, see what rules can be discovered. And we'll send some details out from that as well. Also, we're revamping our Power User training, which has been vastly popular in the last couple of years. We thank all the customers that really spent the time to learn with us, and hopefully you gain a lot. So we'll share a little bit more details there. But lastly, but not least, is come see a demo, right? The easiest way to get started is just take a look for yourself, ask questions, have one of our experts, an automation experts, really kind of walk you through it. So we're really excited for that. So with that, I think we have some little bit of time for questions, and I'll probably let Raj and Dave help us facilitate through that.